Another edition of What's Your Take? Happy Workers' Day to everyone today. We're very proud of our Nigerian workers and all they do in terms of sacrifice and labor to give us the Nigeria of our dreams. So we're honoring all of them today. All right, you might notice a little bit of difference in the set today. We're actually broadcasting from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory today. Reason is, as you know, the current administration will be going out of office exactly 29 days from today. And so there are quite a lot of activities for the going away or sending off of the current administration. One of such activities is the public presentation of a book written in honor of the outgoing Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. And your favorite television program, What's Your Take, is live here in Abuja to cover that event, which will be taking place today, this evening. All right, so we have in the studio with us today, because of course I'm in Abuja, and you might even notice I'm dressed a little bit differently from what you're used to seeing. Reason is, if you wear a suit and tie in the FCT, you'll be taken for a common bank clerk. The outfit of choice here is the Babariga. That's what lets people know you're a quote-unquote big man. So of course I had to join the Joneses and go with the flow and dress like they dress in Abuja so that I don't get mistaken for a common bank clerk. Anyway, on a lighter note, I noticed this past week that DSTV raised its television prices for subscription. And of course there's a big outcry about that. My view, my take on that is that DSTV is not a charity. It's a for-profit business, and there is no constitutional right for anybody to have to subscribe to their services. So the bottom line is, if you think their prices are exorbitant and you don't like it, then go to a competitor. DSTV owes you no obligation whatsoever to price affordably. What we should do is intensify lobbying the government to make it easier for other competitors to come in, and competition will drive prices down like it did with the telecoms industry. So that is the way to go, not by complaining and carping about DSTV raising their prices. They have the right to do that. They're a private, for-profit business, not a charity. So let's move on. Those who don't like it, cancel your DSTV subscriptions and go and watch Netflix on your phone. All right. This is a season of postponements. We've postponed the census. We've postponed fuel subsidy removal. So let's see how things go in the coming days. Season of postponements. All right. So let's get into the meat of the matter today. Joining me from the studio in Lagos, of course, is our newscaster, Yetunde Afolabi. And we have an anchor, a co-anchor or an anchor who will be joining me to run this show from today on. She's in the Lagos studio today. Her name is Monisola Abosede. Monisola, welcome to What's Your Take? We're happy to have you on this team, and we look forward to doing big and great things in collaboration with you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dayo. It's a great delight to be a part of the team. I look forward to working with everyone to produce and present great episodes for viewers of the show. Thank you. Excellent.
Wonderful. So let's see what we have for our viewers today. Why don't you and Yetunde go ahead and start? So you can lead into Yetunde to give us the first story today. I'll be playing the role of the guest analyst, which of course our viewers are not. They're used to seeing me on the other side of the camera being the host. But today I'll be the guest analyst giving my take on the big news stories. So over to you, Monisola.
All right, sir. I'm Yetunde. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very well. How are you doing?
Very well too, thank you. Over to you. What news do you have for us?
Okay. President Buhari suspends fuel subsidy removal till after May 29. The government of President Muhammadu Buhari has strategically shifted the burden attached to fuel subsidy removal to the next administration by suspending the removal previously planned for the month of May 2023, citing current economic challenges across the country. The incoming administration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu will take a decision on the timing of the fuel subsidy removal. Over to you, Monisola.
Right, Yetunde. So Dayo, how did you see this development? Fuel subsidy was planned to be totally removed by the end of the Buhari administration. So do you think it is fair for the outgoing government to leave this political hot potato for the new administration to deal with? Won't it be too much of a burden for a new administration in the early days of its tenure?
Well, Monisola, the truth is I actually have a different take on this. I think this is the right move because, truth be told, if the subsidy were removed in the last days of the Buhari administration, the opposite would happen. It is then it would cause chaos for the new government. Imagine the last few days of the administration, they remove the subsidy and then they leave office the next day. The new administration now has the burden of placating Labour. Remember, Labour has threatened that they will strike, they will shut the whole country down. So that would be the first thing. Imagine a new administration in the first 2-3 days contending with a national general strike. That it would so much handicap the new government that I think this is a magnanimous move on behalf of the Buhari administration, in spite of the fact that they had planned that they would do this thing before they left. I think they've had a rethink and they recognize the fact that it will be a cumbersome burden for the new administration to have to grapple with this in the first few days of their tenure. So what they've done now is by passing the buck to the incoming administration, they've given an opportunity for that administration to review the methodology. Don't get me wrong, we're all agreed to the fact that the subsidy must go. The issue is, how will it go? Some experts have said it shouldn't go until the refineries are working, whether it is the Dangote refinery coming on stream or whether it is the existing 4 national refineries owned by the government that have been rehabilitated and are up and running, or whether it is even new modular refineries coming on stream, that until such a time, subsidy should not be removed. So the new administration will have the opportunity to look at the entire setup, the layout, the lay of the land, and make a determination as to when is best. Of course, they have to go back to the National Assembly because based on the Petroleum Industry Act, it does not recognize the fact that there should be a subsidy at all. So it's not captured in the budget. If they're going to carry it for any additional length of time, you have to go back to the National Assembly and get an amendment of sorts. Okay. Another concern for many Nigerians is this $800 million grant or loan that the World Bank has given to help cushion the effects of subsidy. What will happen to that money if the subsidy is not now removed immediately? That money will have a tendency to get swallowed by a snake or eaten by cockroaches in a cupboard somewhere. Eventually, we won't see that money anymore. That is a big concern for Nigerians. So that's my take. I really think that postponing the subsidy is a good thing for Nigerians. Remember, it's a political hot potato because the issue of the market value of fuel is not affordable for the average Nigerian. So until cushioning measures are put in place, whether it be refineries, whether it be increased salaries, better transportation, trains, ferries, buses, those kind of things, all of them have to be fully in place before the removal of the subsidy will not pinch too much. So that's my take, Monisola.
All right, thank you so much for your response. But do you think the incoming administration should reduce the country's reliance on fossil fuels and explore alternative sources of energy, such as electricity and gas?
Well, that's the way the world is going generally. If you look at global best practices in recent times, the world has been moving away from fossil fuels, apart from the danger to the environment, greenhouse gases, climate change, pollution, environmental degradation, gas flaring. All of these things have made fossil fuels unpopular. And so as technology has developed, as knowledge has expanded, alternative fuels have been sought. In advanced economies, for example, there's a lot more electric vehicles, there's gas-powered vehicles, even solar is now being used to generate electricity. So people are finding ways, they are innovating ways, creative means through technology and science to generate power in a way that is not harmful to the environment, in a way that is renewable, in a way that is inexpensive, in a way that is efficient. So this reliance on oil coming out of the ground to give us the power we need to move our vehicles, to supply us electricity, to do all kinds of other things. It's an old-fashioned model. Right. It's an obsolete model. And so we need to move away from reliance on that. And I think the incoming administration would do well to look at alternative means of fuel.
Thank you so much for your response. And now we're going back to Yetunde. What is the next item on the news?
Sudan. Dangote steps in, partners federal government, Air Peace on resettling evacuated Nigerians. The Board of Trustees of the Aliko Dangote Foundation has resolved to be fully involved in the evacuation and resettling of thousands of Nigerians that are stranded in Sudan. The foundation said it will collaborate with the federal government and Air Peace in ensuring seamless transportation of the stranded Nigerians and, more importantly, provide logistics and succor to the evacuees to make them settle more comfortably when they return to Nigeria. Over to you, Monisola.
Right. This is a very heartbreaking situation, Dayo. We have seen Nigerians living on the streets of Sudan, stranded at the borders of Egypt and Ethiopia, who won't let them in, stranded in the desert when bus drivers refused to go any further unless they were paid. There is even word of a threat of attack on the staff of the Nigerian embassy in Sudan, and there are families leading the ambassador to cry out that the embassy was not in charge of the evacuation effort, that it is the responsibility of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Now, what do you think about this?
Well, this is typical of the way we do things in Nigeria, very inefficient. It's not rocket science to get your people, to aggregate them somewhere and to move them out of a troubled situation. It is really, as you correctly said, Monisola, it's heartbreaking to see video of poor Nigerians in the streets, hungry, no shelter, no change of clothes, nowhere to bath. They are exposed to the danger of bombing. All kinds of things are happening. They're exposed to the elements, the weather, dangerous animals, even dangerous warmongers. And it's really sad to see this happening to our people. For me, the lesson in it, because I remember not too long ago, we had the same situation in Ukraine, where the Russia-Ukraine war, we saw Nigerians trying to get out and being stuck as well. Now here we are a few months later, same thing happening in Sudan. So what is it about us that makes our own evacuation so difficult when other countries are able to do it seamlessly? At the end of the day, it just doesn't tell well on our country, on our people. And I also look at it from the standpoint that people are so desperate to get out, but when conflagration and pogroms occur in these places, they can't wait to come back to our own country. So why are we even going anywhere in the first place? Why don't we stay and improve our own country and develop our country? Because at the end of the day, that's where we're all going to come back to when there's strife or trouble in other places, as we can see with all Nigerians now. But I call on the federal government to intensify efforts. It's a shame that bus drivers will be stopping in the desert and saying they're not going any further because they haven't been paid. It's a shame that they will have to collect the passports of Nigerians and say, we will not give you these passports back until we get to the destination and your government pays us. Meanwhile, the authorities, Nigerian authorities in Sudan are saying the 1.2 million that was earmarked to move our people has been expended. And the reason is that it costs a lot of money because all countries are hustling for the same means of transport to get their people out. So the buses are in high demand. And you know, when there's high demand, prices go up. So it's not like what you would pay for a regular bus on a regular day. Prices have tripled and quadrupled to rent a bus. So that the 1.2 million did not go far in terms of moving all our students and other Nigerians who need to get out of Sudan. So I want to implore the government to please intensify efforts, try to be more efficient, be a bit more proactive, so that we don't have to see these distressing kind of videos. Why is it only our country that we are seeing videos of our people in hardship? Other countries have efficiently sorted out their people, moved them to their countries, and the whole situation has abated to do with their individuals. But the sense is that the Nigerian government does not care too much about its people, and we have a lackadaisical approach towards assisting our people in trouble in different parts of the world. That's not right, because it's a two-way street. You want Nigerians to be patriotic to the flag, patriotic to the country, patriotic to the constitution. But it's a symbiotic relationship. For Nigerians to be patriotic, the government also has to show love. It's a two-way street. So that's my feeling. I'm not happy about it at all, Monisola.
Well said. Thank you so much for your response. Yetunde, over to you again. What do you have for us next?
Southwest states to launch regional electricity rail projects. Following the success of the regional security outfit codenamed Amuteku and other regional initiatives, Southwest states have agreed to launch regional railway and electricity projects. The decision came on the heels of the Electricity and Railway Acts 2023, signed by President Muhammadu Buhari. The new laws decentralize the operation of power and rail, among others. Over to you, Monisola.
Thank you so much. Right. Mr. Dayo, this is a welcome development for the region in particular. Okay, and we'll be going on a short break right now.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back to the show, guys. We'll be heading back to Abuja, where we'll be talking to our guest for the show. Still on the topic we'll be talking about, Dayo, this is a welcome development for the region in particular and the nation in general. You know, the Southwest has always been a pace setter when it comes to development, but two of the states are currently governed by the opposition. Do you believe partisan considerations can be put aside for the overall good of the region?
Yes, Monisola, I actually think so, and we've seen many examples of it before where partisan considerations, the party I belong to, has been put on the back shelf for collective good. We saw it when all the governors came together and agreed that the presidency should be zoned to the south. That was done by both PDP and APC governors, even though it didn't work out in the end, but they had an agreement irrespective of party. It wasn't just an APC decision alone. So the governors have shown the capacity to be able to come together and cooperate. Also look in the Southwest, for example, look at Amotekun. That was a regional initiative that's been very, very successful, and it involved all the 5 southwestern states. So I don't for a minute doubt that they can collaborate on regional development, which of course works out a whole lot better because they are not hamstrung by considerations of Abuja, they are not hamstrung by considerations of equity with all the other regions, the north, the country must all develop at the same rate together. No, you develop at your own pace, and if the Southwest region is capable of developing faster than other regions, I don't think it should be held back simply because of federal character or constitutional requirements as Abuja has always dictated. So by moving electricity and railway out of the exclusive list to the concurrent list, which gives the states the power to initiate these infrastructural benefits for the people of the region, I think it's a wonderful development. I also think it puts our governors on notice because, truth be told, the governors have not really been doing much, even though we focus on the presidency a whole lot, but the governors have greater responsibility as they are closer to the people than the federal government. But the governors all along, they beat their chest about building a couple of roads and internal bridges. As far as I'm concerned, really, those are things local government should take up. There's nothing that you should be proud of as a governor for having built a few roads here and there and 1 or 2 internal bridges. I look at state governments to do big picture things like attracting investment to their state, whereby multinational corporations and overseas corporations will come and establish industries in their states and employ people. Employment is still the number one thing so that people can be self-sustaining. So I think governors should do things like that, like generate electricity, like build water works, like, of course, build transportation networks, train lines like you see Lagos is doing, ferries, public bus systems, things that make life easier for the people. But governors have been so reliant on Abuja, they just wait for Abuja to say and do everything for them. So they tidy up themselves and feel good about having done a few petty things, build a school or two, a hospital or two. No vision, no big term thinking, no large thinking about how to raise the lot of the people of their state. Okay. So I think that this is a very good development. I think it puts the governors on their toes, because all of a sudden now, if they don't perform, they now have all the tools they require to be able to give a better life to their people. Many of them will say, but where do we get the money? There are PPP models all over the place, public-private participation models, whereby private money will come in and provide the money to do these things because they are profit-oriented. I don't believe government should be in business anyway, so they go into partnership with technical partners who can run these things for them, and they share the profits. So it is a very good development, and I believe the current crop of governors we have, for them to have even had the wherewithal, the initiative to be able to sit down and come to terms and an understanding, not just on this, but as I mentioned earlier, Amotekun and other things. It means the governors we have in the Southwest now are forward-thinking, they are broad-minded, they are exposed to international best practices, and they are bringing those to bear on their states and their people. So kudos should go to President Buhari for signing the constitutional amendment that took electricity, railway, prisons, and I think autonomy of the judiciary.
Thank you so much for your response. But I've got one more question on the topic. You know, this is a huge project. It has been in talk for some time now. And then being a huge project, there are fears that it's going to take a long time before completion. What do you have to say about this?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's not, they're capital intensive projects. They're not things that can come overnight, but you have to start from somewhere. I think the first step was changing the law. And once the law has been changed, the next step was getting the agreement, because for each individual state to do it on their own, it will be prohibitively expensive and time consuming. But for them to come in as 5 states together to do it regionally, then there are economies of scale. That means that for each individual participant, the cost will be less, and then the time to roll out will be shorter because they're doing it on a larger scale. So I don't think we should be naysaying and saying, where will they get the money? How long will it take? Can they start immediately? How long? We'll all probably be gray-haired and toothless by the time it comes. No, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. They've taken a good first step. We should encourage them. Whether it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, what we should be pushing for is transparency and accountability to make sure that any monies that are allocated to this serve the right purpose, that none of it is going into private pockets. And of course, I mentioned PPP models, because there's private participation and those private people are set up in a for-profit way. They are regularly audited, they constantly have corporate governance, and things are see to it that the monies they put in projects are spent properly for those purposes. So I think it's doable. I think we should give the regional governments a chance. And what I would really say is I hope other regions will take a leaf out of what the Southwest governors have done and begin to emulate this so that the whole country will begin to enjoy development. The point is we tried to develop 36 states individually, well, collectively as one.
All
with
right,
the same
thank you so much for your response. So we are fast running out of time. So what's your last story for today, Lisunde?
Sanwo-Olu announces arrival of first batch of electric buses in the Lagos Mass Transit Master Plan as part of an increased effort to modernize every sector of Lagos, adding that Lagosians can expect a cleaner and greener public transportation system. The governor said the new electric buses will not only reduce carbon emissions, but will also increase efficiency. This means that Lagosians can say goodbye to high fuel costs and hello to cost-efficient transportation. All yours, Monisola.
Thank you very much. So very briefly, Mr. Dayo, the governor is beating his chest that these electrical buses are a game changer for transportation in Lagos. He claims that the ability of the buses to travel 280 kilometers at full charge guarantees that they will not run out of power in transit, in as much as the existing BRT buses have an average daily usage of 200 kilometers. Wow.
It's a good development, but I worry about electricity. Are we ready for electric vehicles yet when our power is still not adequate? Where are the charging points? Okay, so you say it can go 200 kilometers, but what happens if it's in traffic for several hours and the battery is running? I worry about that. So we need to build charging points for where the buses can be recharged in case they run low on power due to unforeseen circumstances. We don't want our people stranded on the roads. I think before you begin to bring the infrastructure, before you begin to bring the inventory, the infrastructure should be robust. The backbone should be robust. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's improve the power generation before we begin to bring things like electric buses. But it's a good development. At least it'll clean our air a little bit better. But I also worry about maintenance. Yes, electric buses don't need as much maintenance as combustion engine buses, but they still need some measure of maintenance, and our maintenance culture is very, very poor. If you even look at the BRT buses on the road now that were introduced about 10 years ago, most of them are run down and beaten up already. So what will be the fate of these electric buses? Let's hope that the government has a maintenance program in place already, and also is thinking about how to make sure that there's uninterrupted power supply to keep the buses running. It's a very welcome development, Monisola.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for your response, Mr. Dayo, very insightful. And that is the much we can take today on What's Your Take. I have been discussing with Dayo Akintobi, our host, who has been our guest analyst today from Abuja, where he's attending and covering the public presentation of a book written in honor of the outgoing Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo. It has been an engaging time, Dayo. Thank you so much. You should consider being an out guest analyst more often.